This podcast discusses themes of mental health, which some people may find emotive, such as suicide or other adult-themed content. The information contained in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. All views expressed are solely those of individuals involved and do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which we have been, are now, or will be affiliated. The information is not meant to diagnose or treat any mental health condition. If you're experiencing mental health symptoms, we encourage you to contact a mental health service within your community. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please seek the relevant support and interventions by presenting to your local accident and emergency department or contacting the relevant emergency services.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Welcome to The Man Hug, the monthly men's mental health podcast. I'm Dean McShane.
I'm Dan Cooper. I'm Ian Pearce-Hayes.
And I'm Conleth Kelly.
Each month we will discuss a different topic related to men's mental health, which will include a guest speaker who will discuss their own personal story. And each month we will also be showcasing an organisation or charity within the Merseyside area who work within mental health to help build your signposting skills. Hello, welcome to this latest edition of The Man Hug. We're really made up today that we've got some fantastic guests that cover our theme so well. So we've decided for this month to cover the theme of community. We were chatting about this yesterday about how one of our podcasts is around connectivity, but you know, you can connect between two people, can't you? So community is a much bigger entity that we're going to talk about, and the things that happen within community as well around mental health and men's mental health. So our first guest, we're really made up. We've got Matty Caine, who is the CEO and founder of First Person CIC. Matty's a registered mental health nurse, and he's also spoken really openly and honestly about his own mental health. So Matty, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So first off, just tell us a little bit about First Person. So for people that don't know what it is, how would you kind of like describe what it is that you do?
Okay, so we're a not-for-profit social enterprise, community interest company. We believe that a tighter, close-knit, more connected, cohesive community is a stronger community on pretty much every measure. Yeah. We talk about this idea that all roads lead to mental health and all roads lead away. So it doesn't really matter kind of what you're talking about at a community level. There's a way of linking it back to mental health. So if you improve cohesion at a community level, things get better.
Yeah, brilliant.
In a nutshell.
So what types of things would you be doing in a sort of like a day-to-day basis then?
Well, so as you mentioned, my background, I'm a mental health nurse by background. Most of my career was spent in the NHS in a typical kind of mainstream setting, leading services, managing services. So we do offer the kind of typical professional interventions like counselling and therapy-based things and whatever, but actually more so we lean more on the people-powered things. So we obviously just off air mentioned the guy who, a typical referral would somebody would come to us asking for support, and rather than us being the source of that support, we work out a way with that person so that they are the source of that support, not just for them, but for their community too. Out of that particular example came a writing group, which is a year old now, over a year old. Wow. And we do know that, I'm doing the air quote thing, we do know the intervention with this man other than develop that group with him. So no therapy, changed hands on that occasion. Yeah.
So what types of things then, you know, if I was wanting to go there, what types of, you mentioned the writing group, what other types of projects do you run within it?
So out of the same type of approach, the same model, we've got men's groups started by men, for men, by men. Women's groups, the same type of philosophy, meditation, breathwork sessions, mental health education sessions, community building from a theoretical point of view. But then we'll take that learning a next step where we'll do it a kind of an applied version where we're actually going out in communities with members of the community and showing them different models of community building and how they can do it themselves. Suicide prevention, commissioned via Mersey Care and things. We do a lot of stuff. Yeah. If you want to come along for a cup of tea and a chat, that's cool. But if you want to come along for, as I mentioned before, a more mainstream, typical professional intervention, well, then we have that as well, and pretty much anything in between.
And what will be the process for that then? So, if I am someone who's kind of struggling and needs a bit of help, how would I sort of access it?
So by design, we pull down as many barriers as possible. That's kind of our thing. That was so. Suppose the background to it was when I was working in services, as much as I'm indebted to services, they bred me. There's clear blockages, some of which are all of which you could link back to socio-political factors, I think, especially these days. So I was fed up of being part of that problem in my mind. So rather than kind of banging a drum and getting in trouble and getting put on the naughty step, I set up First Person Project with the view of pulling down as many barriers as possible. So to answer your question, any way you want. Brilliant. So you can DM us, you can high-five me on Church Street, you can email me, you can send a pigeon up in the sky and I'll find it, smoke signals. I mean, literally, we one of our spaces is based on Lodge Lane for the purpose that there's a lot of people that walk up and down Lodge Lane. So knock on, pop in. We have referral forms, but we will usually fill the referral form in after the fact to take the bureaucracy out of it. Come in, cup of tea, fixes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It starts everything. Doesn't fix everything.
That's brilliant. And I think, over the last few podcasts, we've had very similar people who've done exactly the same type of thing where, they've removed these barriers and they've just made places more accessible because of massive waiting lists for support. So what was the sort of initial starting point for that? Where did you come up with this idea of, hang on, we just need to remove all of this. We need to offer help to people who need it when they need it.
Yeah. But started, so as I mentioned, a lot of my career was spent leading services and trying to lead innovation in services. So, look, it's easy to sit here and sound like I'm criticising the mainstream services. I'm certainly not. Like I say, they bred me. I owe the NHS a lot. But the reality is, it's like an articulated lorry trying to do a 3-point turn. It turns really, really slowly. And obviously society moves a lot quicker than the NHS is able to respond to it. So when I was in it, I was continually getting stood on the naughty step because these innovations, some of them were great ideas, some of them weren't. But if myself and the team that I was working with at the time was backed, we tend to find that things improved. And it tends to be moving the inefficiencies out of the way and then kind of leveraging the things that were going well in the services. And the biggest clue was getting the people who the service is being delivered to part of what was going on and asking permission, can we deliver this service to you, rather than just kind of bulldozing our way in. And that was when I was in practice. So this idea was there bubbling away, but of course you've got to pay bills and all that type of stuff. 2018 was the turning point. My mum died. So, just to kind of, she developed sepsis. I was working away at the time. I came home to the northwest from the northeast and came home, and within about 8 days she went from being here to being on life support to being dead. Within about a 4-week period after that, I was super professional, ice cold, turning up to the Royal when she was on life support with a lanyard on, an NHS lanyard and things like that. I was very until I was kind of robotic until a consultant in the Royal told me off, which was the best thing that could have happened to me at the time. And then for about a year thereafter, I developed what they called psychotic depression. And I say it in that way because they gave me a label and I gave it back very, very, I like to think very eloquently. I wrote a letter and I gave the diagnosis back. I didn't agree with the diagnosis, I still don't. But I was experiencing what we might, call and understand as psychotic depression. Or grief, as I see it. So that was it. And in that year-long period, there was, of course, there was a number of suicide attempts, and thankfully they didn't work. But come to the end of 2018, early 2019, it was an opportunity for me to triumph over adversity, and that's where it was like, well, just jump, do it. And that's what happened. So, realised I didn't have a clue about business at that point, which is obviously a stumbling block, because you've got to fund it. Address that through the wonderful institution that is LJMU, Civic Institution for the People, represent. And here we are. That's kind of where it started. Lots of help along the way, by the way, just point that out, by colleagues and supporters and mates and anyone who wants to pull the boat along, you know.
Would you say your own sort of experience was a big catalyst for that then? You know, you got first-hand experience of the help you needed at the time.
It's yeah, definitely. There was a lot of blockages in my routes to getting help, but not so much in the community. It was in work. So a lot of the work we will do to keep our work in the community free is we do a lot of corporate work. Yeah. So a big part of that is going into organisations and not just providing the kind of off-the-shelf packages that can be provided. We're not doing that. We're doing it in our way with our philosophy and this golden thread of everything running through it. And we start the conversation off with that with corporate partners. And if they want that, then cool. If they don't, well, then we agree to kind of go our separate ways. And we stay kind of, we maintain a high level of fidelity to what it is we're trying to do. But then the other part of it is my mum was completely normal. I've used the N-word, you know, normal. What is that? The kind of epitome of resourcefulness and resilience. She was as normal as any other woman on, you know, Vauxhall Everton, were from Everton. And, you know, like probably a lot of people's mums, she was my hero. And I think our service is designed for people like her, by people like her. So as long as First Person Project exists, it'll always be a dedication to her, you know.
Brilliant. We did a podcast, the one before last, about grief, you know, and we had Alan Gibbons, who spoke so openly and honestly about it. Amazing guy. And he had an amazing quote of literally saying, you know, grief is so unique for every individual. There's no textbook for it, you know, it's so individualised. What did you find was one of the big things that helped you during that period?
So it's funny this, because I've been speaking about this guy quite a lot lately. So as a counsellor, now he was an amazing counsellor, taking nothing away from the professional element, but he was an even better person. This guy, his name was Jay. He might even listen to this. I've never reached out to him since, but I got counselling through him, and I'd done the whole kind of antidepressant thing and stuff like that, and it did help. You know, I'd done that for over a year. But what Jay did was he started the ball rolling on a different way of thinking. So Jay spoke to me about football, politics, socialism, the union, his job in the post office, because he only done that, which I found charming. He only done the counselling part-time, but he was the best counsellor I've ever met. It was great.
Amazing postman as well.
Oh, top postman. It's like a man he can do everything. He's a $6 million man. But this guy, he done it in a way. And obviously, look, I've been the side of the table that Jay sat at. I was, you know, as a professional as well, but he'd done it in a way where I was learning lessons all over the place. You know, this guy, I didn't feel in 12 sessions, I didn't feel as though it spoke about my mum once. Bear in mind, it's bereavement counselling. And then at the end of this 12-session run, he's produced this poem that he's written. And it's in 3 sections, a before, middle and after, you know. This is what your mum, this is what you've told me about your mum based upon your past. This is what she'd say if she was here. And this is kind of the future as your mum, kind of, you know, just if she was here and she could tell me and everything else, this is kind of what the future holds for you. Now, bear in mind, at that point of reading this, it was in a frame, I've still got it at home. I didn't think I'd spoken about my mum at all. So he showed me that there's a really good way of still doing the whole professional thing, but that personal thing leading with it, not always talking about mental health. When it's mental health that you want to talk about, there's roots to it. And it was clever. So I came out of there with a big, you know, I probably could have claimed CPD for that as well, couldn't I, you know? I probably should have put that on my revalidation, to be honest, because he schooled me that day. But the way of thinking that it set off for me was, okay, if you can take the best, most kind-hearted, even best-trained professional in the world and distill what it is they're doing, I reckon you could find that in pretty much anyone that's good in society. So why are we trying to stand in a line, in a queue, waiting for these great, kind-hearted professionals? Why don't we just try and find this stuff, this distillation fluid, and see if it exists, and find that and build services around them? And let's just start there. And it's not that professionals have got the wrong tools. They've got the right tools. It's just not always the right time. So it's a time and a place thing. Just start with the community, see what goes on there, focus on what's strong rather than what's wrong. And then eventually, you might need the professional
Yeah.
but actually you might not.
Yeah.
And that, from a service point of view, really helps, doesn't it? Stops blockages, bottlenecks and all that type of stuff.
Definitely. How important have you found it linking in with other people in the community, well, other services, organisations, other individuals?
It's been amazing. Don't get me wrong, the third sector in Liverpool, as much as I love it, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I mean, I think we're a social enterprise, again, by design. I think it's the harder route to take insofar as you've got to make money. If you don't make your money, you don't have money to spend. And it's really hard to attract grant funding, especially when there's a whole army of other people that want it. And what we found early on was you can have a best mate on the Monday and then there's a funding call on the Tuesday, and by the Wednesday, you're not your mate anymore, you know, because everyone's going for the same pot. What I think is really, really good in Liverpool now, even just a few short years on, is the amount of organisations willing to collaborate where money's not even on the table, purely because it's like, this is ours, we have to do this, you know. We're part of Citizens UK as well, which has kind of come to town, and I'm sure you'll learn more about that in due course. But, you know, it's organisations actually paying to be a part of it, putting the money where the mouth is, you know. And I know it's a cliche, but is there a better place to do it than Liverpool? I'm not sure. You know, I've lived around the country, and I've lived in some of these other, you know, I've lived in Newcastle, worked in Leeds, Manchester, Cambridge. Let's delete that part. But, you know, there's parts of Cambridge that are incredibly poor as well. But the reality is, I don't think there's a better place than Liverpool to do this stuff. So yeah, I'm proud to be part of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things we found from doing this podcast. We always get a different service on, and they're always created by people who've just had to create them because there's no funding, there's no NHS provider for that need. Whatever it is, it's just good people who have had to set up these grassroots projects to keep people connected and keep people well and give people choice and things. And you're right, I think that collaboration's massive as well. You know, we've seen it an awful lot with certain organisations again who are, like, you know, collaborating and helping each other out as well. It's an amazing thing. I just wanted to go back just to, you know, around your own sort of mental health. Yeah. For me, being a mental health nurse myself, I thought, oh, I've got a hero here. There's a mental health nurse who's actually willing to talk about his own mental health. And do you know what I mean? Because I think from my own sort of professional background, every team I've worked, if someone does become mentally unwell, it's like, oh, let's not talk about it, because they're not allowed to become mentally unwell because they look after patients who are mentally unwell. Do you know what I mean? And there's this kind of stigma around it. Yeah. And I've seen it an awful lot. And, you know, there's been periods where you do need that support and the openness and honestness around it as well. How have you found that, you know, being a mental health nurse who struggles with their mental health and being able to speak about it?
It's a funny one, right? Because I am with you on that, completely with you. When I was when I was working in services in the NHS, you didn't speak about it. You know, I when I teach people now, I still roll out the stress vulnerability model. It's like from the 70s or something, but I still use it, and I still talk about these kind of vulnerability markers, you know, that we collect over the course of the lifespan. And I hadn't realised it, but prior to 2018. I hadn't been mentally ill, if you like, before, or unwell before 2018, at least that I can remember. But the reality is I've been going through collecting a lot of vulnerabilities over the years, and without me realising it, I think back now, hang on a minute, remember in 2011 or 2012, there was a period in 2012 and I was definitely weren't right. And that's happened a number of times. So when I was in services, actually the worst part of services was how ill-prepared they were to deal with this stuff. Yeah. Big, you know, NHS, massive conglomerate, big, you know, machines that employ 15,000 staff and cover whole regions of the country are not equipped. So what hope, and this was kind of at the very beginning, I don't think this way now, but what hope do the manufacturing companies speak of if the NHS mental health service can't get it right?
I know, right? That's it.
But turn it into a glass half full situation, it's like, well, okay, well, what an opportunity. You know, what an opportunity we've got. So that's what we've been able to take forward. It has been hard. Sometimes I wish, as much as I'm proud to be a nurse, and I'll always be a registered nurse and all that type of stuff, it gets in the way a little bit, because I'm out there stood on this kind of platform saying society, community is where it's at. But the obvious kind of reply to the naysayers is like, yeah, but you can say that because you're a nurse and you've got that training. I got this yesterday when I was doing some corporate work, and it's like, okay, yeah, you've kind of got a point there. But for 20 years of my life, it wasn't. You know, I haven't practiced as a nurse in services for some time. You know, like, so am I, or do I have a piece of paper that says I am? You know what I mean? So it's kind of, I'm still doing it. First person project, you know, it's 4 years old on paper, but the reality is the traction that people are seeing, and I feel that we're getting, it's probably the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
So it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I've got other gears to shift into, and I can be louder. So yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing point, and especially, you know, I've done a lot of training myself for organisations and places for mental health within the workplace.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right in terms of where us as NHS professionals, though, who's actually looking after ours, especially if you're not getting your supervisions and you're not getting looked after and you're not getting your referrals to wherever you need it and that. How are you finding it then when you're going into these big organisations? Are they starting to be, you know, more proactive for their staff, or is it still a bit more tick boxy, do you think?
No, what's happening is, at least, so I suppose then there's a, as I mentioned before, the first conversation I'll have when we're with a prospective partner is, you know, I want that buy-in from the top. You know, you can make money, you can sell a service, you can sell a product, the training package, and there's plenty of organisations willing to work with you if you want to, but that's not what we're here to do. So you have that open and honest conversation first, and that's not a kind of, oh yes, I've bought in. I'm always assessing that, you know. So most of the time, the conversation only progresses to conversation 2 if we can get past conversation 1. So a lot of the time, these organisations might be big, manufacturing, you know, male-dominated, all of the kind of the risky areas, the areas that we really want to get into. But they've already had a conversation with us where they've signed up to it, or at least bought into the idea of it. And then because community is not a noun, it's a verb, you know, you do community, it's not a thing. But you can apply the same principles and all the evidence base that supports the idea of unity and cohesion and all that type of stuff. It talks about social cohesion, but geography is only part of that. A community is, you know, the staff team in LGMU is a community. So we apply the same philosophy and the same theory to a, you know, as it was yesterday, a group of paint manufacturers in D-side. You know, a community is still a community. So we still look at, well, what are the building blocks of this community, and how many of them relate to the individual, and how many of them relate to the wider social, political things that are going on in the workplace and everything else. Once you start doing that, what the workplace realises is that actually we're far more equipped than we thought we was. We don't need this white knight on a horse to come in with all of the letters after the name to say, oh, well, you know, let's do a stress risk assessment, and what's your occupational health referral like? It's like, no. They're far more willing to get in upstream, proactively, preventatively, and commit to the development of a mental health culture rather than a piecemeal response, a reactive kind of strategy. It's getting better. It's good.
Brilliant. That's really good to hear. And especially, you know, if you say going into a lot of male-dominated industries as well, and you're seeing a lot of these changes. In terms of first person, you know, what would sort of... I'm guessing kind of like your big selling pitch for it, really, you know. So if you're putting it out there for people to listen to, what makes it stand out? What makes it unique to other places where people can go?
Well, the fact that we don't lead with a professional intervention, I think that's probably the best thing. It's the best thing about that service is them. It's people like them. It's they can ask people like me. So all of our workforce, all of us have experienced poor mental health. We positively discriminate in that way. So if there's a job or an opportunity come up, our person spec very much says, not only have you experienced it, but you're willing to talk about it. So there's that. There's the fact that most of what we offer is offered by the people. They're not volunteers. We don't talk in those terms. It's not a volunteer thing. The volunteer suggests job. This is not. Your community is yours. It's your responsibility to grow that social wealth that's going to improve things. So it's an opportunity to do that. But then there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things on offer from, more mainstream things. There's counselling. We don't have things like waiting lists. We don't have waiting lists for any of our services, for that matter. There's no eligibility criteria. We have certain commissioned programs where we might focus more on a certain demographic, but actually one of our prerequisites to accepting these commissions was that we could accept anybody if we wanted to.
Amazing.
And they said yeah, which is surprising. But they said yeah. So things like that. So I think you can come in and it can be anything as, if you want to come and have a cup of tea and that's all you want to do every single day. Sound, no pressure. There's no discharge date. We don't talk in those terms. There's no interventions. It's that. And it's an opportunity, by the way. This is supposed to come round to answering your question. It's an opportunity to be part of the best part of your community. If you want change to happen, well, then you can make it happen and we can help you make it happen. And that, as over the past year alone, well, just over a year, 8,500 people have come through the service with that mentality.
That's amazing.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And people go, how can it be that many? It's like, well, all of the above.
Your door's open.
Door's open. It's as simple as that. The kettle's on, And because of the social enterprise model, I don't sit here and say that we're cash rich, because we aren't. We aren't a cash rich organisation by no means, but we're sustainable. We make 90% of what we earn, what we take. So although there's grants in, we've got applications in now. There's a big funding call recently as part of the National Suicide Prevention Strategy, of course. It's a big, healthy pot of money, and we want to be part of it. So I'm not adverse to grant funding by no means, But I think the social enterprise part and being so staunch when it comes to sustainability and making money, I see it quite dramatically. If you do it in a way where you go into a community and you promise the earth and then you can't deliver, well, that's an assault on that community, and you're never going to get the trust that you need to move anything forward. And that's where it starts and finishes with trust, doesn't it?
And you said, you're not rich financially, but how rich are you when you've seen someone that's gone through your service and then now they're a part of your community who are
unbelievable,
doing things like volunteering or working or back in education? How rich are you off that?
When they open the doors back up to us and say, we allow you into our community as well, because this is the thing. And I've been there, I've done it. I've been a CPN, I've done all this type of stuff where you're going into communities and you're inviting yourself in, and then when the person doesn't want you in there, you label them with something, because that's hard to reach, hard to engage. No such thing as a hard to reach person. It's nonsense. Hard to reach, hard to engage. What's the other one? Non-compliant. Head and hands. Non-compliant, stuff like that. These are labels which we give to people because we haven't asked. Ask, and let's have let's open the conversation up with a bit of trust building. Let's not maybe put a time limit on how many sessions they can have with the assistant psychologist or whatever we're doing these days. Let's spend some time building up that kind of capital around trust and everything else, and then let's go back and see if they even need labelling, and if they do, well, you're doing it anyway. So
Amazing.
Thanks, well.
So in terms of first person project, then how would people have a look? Is it website or social medias?
Website, social media. We've got a blog which we've neglected a little bit. There's some good things on there, to be honest. We've just taken on a new member of staff who, to be fair, she was on placement with us, and then she's volunteered, and then now she's come on board, and she's helping me out with some of the more, like I describe first person project as being a bit like a three-legged stool. The change in practice is important, but just as important is the influence in policy and the influence in research. So I'm involved in all of those things personally, but obviously first person project, I've got a foot in some things. I mentioned citizens and stuff before. But when it comes to trying to do all of those things to a certain standard consistently, I get tired, so I need some support. So we've got someone else who's come on board and part of her role is to help us shine a light on some parts of the organisation that maybe do make us stand out a little bit. Like I mentioned, the development of social wealth and social capital. Well, we've done a programme in the summer which was focused around children and young people, which was funded by the children and young people through selling cakes.
Amazing. And
it's like that would just disappear into the ether. Up until a few weeks ago, we brought Michaela on board, and she's now written a report which we're going to use some academic language in it, but it depends on the audience who's reading it. And then that's going to go out there and hopefully kind of shine another light on it. So it's another tool to engage things like this, you know, kind of try and get involved in as much as possible. Or just not.
Yeah. No, just carry on that good work and that promotion. Any questions?
Yeah, just, it's not really a question. Like, you know, it's, I like how you actually, you know, turn a negative into a positive, doing that. And that's one thing we've seen quite a few times. Like, you know, Jake, right from the very start, with chasing the stigma, you know, Hub of Hope, with regards to that. You know, he tried to get help from health professionals and to a policeman and a GP, and it was all negative, and that was it. And that's where, you know, out of dark clouds, you know, things like this actually do shine from it. One thing I actually do like as well is how you've actually said about, you know, the lack of labelling, the lack of people maybe with all these letters after their names and things like that. To me, it's also breaking down social control as well. It's actually empowering that person, going, okay, over to you, like, you know, what do you think? And I've fallen out with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, falling back in love with him again, like, you know, but it's that, you know, self-esteem, a thing towards community, doing that. I think what you're doing is, you know, social control is a big issue for me, like, you know, I love how that's been broken down, you know, so thanks for that.
Thanks.
So once again, First Person Project, check out the website, which is
www.firstpersonprojectcic.co.uk.
And there's also Twitter and Instagram and pretty much anything, isn't there?
Yeah, we're on Twitter, First Person CIC, and on the others, First Person Project CIC.
Brilliant. Well, Matty, we can't thank you enough. You know how difficult it is to come on and talk about your own experience, but as I say, I think it's going to open up a lot of doors for people just to say, actually, you know, I've gone through the same, and I'll be happy to talk about it as well. And that's what's so powerful, isn't it? And the work you're doing at First Person is just amazing. So check them out, check out the website, give them a follow and see what they're doing. And if you need any support, there's easy ways with no referrals needed. So get in there and access that service.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers, Matty.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Okay, to this part of the podcast where we talk about the theme, and the theme this month is community. We've been joined by Matty, who has set up an amazing community project, and after this we'll be meeting with two of the lads from the Florrie, who both run amazing community-based projects as well. So there's been lots of research around the effects of taking part in social and community life, and if you go back to the 5 ways of wellbeing, which we bring up quite a lot in the podcast, one of those is to give, and the benefits of giving and helping others has amazing positive effects on your mental health as well. So, you know, a bit of brain health again. It activates the reward centre in your brain, and that releases serotonin, dopamine and endorphins, which is why many people often feel better after volunteering, for example, and helping other people. Also, more recently, there's been quite a lot of research around the benefits that volunteering has for our older adults as well, and how this can actually provide benefits to the brain. A study that I was reading basically looked at the effects of volunteering for over 60-year-old people, the benefits that it actually has on brain health. And it reduces stress, it increases positive, relaxed feelings by releasing dopamine. By spending time in service to others, volunteers, they will report feeling a sense of meaning, a feeling of appreciation, both given and received, which can have a stress-reducing effect. There's also as well kind of this research around the other benefits that it actually has on us, not only sort of like mentally, but also physically and the active side of the brain as well. One of the things that I really like in the sense of volunteering and community-based things is that not also, you know, that you're helping someone, is that the feeling that it gives you afterwards as well. So it's sort of a long-lasting effect. And there's a really lovely Chinese proverb which I stumbled upon, which really hits the nail on the head here. It says, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a month, get married. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. And I absolutely love that. Over to you.
Okay, I'm going to keep mine short and sweet because I've got a feeling our next guest might take a little bit of time, which God willing, everything will be great with it. But whenever I'm actually going to be talking about community, well, it's like I run in the morning, run to work, whatever. I've got this little community, stop and say hello to people, things like this, whatever. And it's what it means to you. And we're all in different kinds of communities. But one thing, especially within healthcare, I'm really big to actually help promote communities, the likes of social prescribing. I'm really big on this. I'm prescribing myself, whatever, which I personally disagree with. Social prescribing, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And it's about, showing that these agencies or people out there, groups that actually maybe do similar things. And it's about getting people together, actually chatting about it. One thing I actually got from the government website, it sounds fantastic, like, 3.6 million is actually being given towards, they've actually, I like the word they got on here, the government's given 3.6 million awarded to the National Academy of Social Prescribing to support well-being, impacts of loneliness, social isolation, things like this. This absolutely sounds absolutely fantastic. Whenever you look at it, maybe it could be controversial, but the HS2 London to now Birmingham train have actually just got this cost. It's 396 million per mile. That's actually costing. So you're just thinking, are we got the right attitude here with regards to it? Social prescribing, yeah, we actually, I know within Liverpool, social prescribers, sometimes you don't like to be called that. I think that actually well-being workers, and the name's in the title that says it all. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. And if you go on to online, I know there's issues maybe with digital poverty, digital downloads, whatever, but I know within Liverpool we got www.wellbeingliverpool.co.uk. You can actually go in there, do searches for postcodes, searching postcodes, see what's in the area. Majority of what's actually is out there is all for free. For example, we've got the lads coming from the Florrie, they will actually be on there as well. I'm just come back from a wedding in Ireland, which was rocking, it was a corker of a wedding. But I actually just thought I'm going to check out over there, and so where I'm from in Northern Ireland, from Armagh, they got the www.westarmaghconsortium.org, and they actually do some of the things. So what I'm saying is that it's not just specific to big towns, big cities and things like that. We actually do have a lot of things actually out there. But one thing maybe some of you have maybe seen lately online, there's Norwich City football team has done a fantastic ad around, just Google Norwich City football, mental health, whatever, and this video will actually come up just around mental health about two supporters. I won't go into details, don't want to do spoilers, but we put masks on all the time. I know I'm dropping names here, whatever. Saturate, like he actually says, we lie all the time, we lie every day, sometimes we even lie to ourselves. And it's actually trying to get rid of that mask, taking it down, whatever. So sometimes it can be very, very difficult to actually say what's available. We are here. Come and join us. So it's this carrot and a stick. And there's a model we actually use, brief interventions. You can you can bring a horse to water. You can't make it drink. But it's as long as that person knows that we're there. So you can actually think, okay, I've got issues. I need to come there. And this is why these things are so important. We're talking about our problems. Matty talked about his problem, things that you're not alone. I just did a tweet there the other day, whatever, just saying, get talking about these things, get it out and open, as to stop the stigma of mental health with regards to it. Okay, that's my bit. Ian?
Yeah, what I was interested in for this sense of community was this idea of us as social animals, social beings. And so really one area that I've always been interested in is that idea of who are we? And I think over this period that we're in, the last 50 years, certainly in my lifetime, there's been lots of research that's actually demonstrated where we've come from in terms of at this point in time about that early modern humans. What we know is that we evolved in Africa. We coexisted and probably mixed with other human species before expanding outwards, meeting other human populations, and it's known, I think, people like or early ancestors like the Neanderthals. There's also evidence that in terms of that evolvement, that we actually broadly lived in egalitarian hunter-gatherer society for most of history. The need to cooperate work together in groups, development of tools, sharing meals, food was absolutely paramount for those early humans and early human societies. And this led to the development of social networks, language, also to changes as we've evolved in I guess anatomical or biological changes. So things like our brains grew, human life extended, so that women, in terms of like for the menopause, that life was extended. That's not to say that these were idyllic times, that life wasn't hard. Of course it was. And one of the issues in terms of retaining that ape heritage is that, things like that we encourage to submit, to compete, to dominate. We were also vulnerable as human beings. So we've had to almost agree and acquiesce in terms of consciously working together to repress, develop that social intelligence to repress things like jealousy, aggression, the selfishness in ourselves to overcome and survive and to prosper. And I think those early societies, 90% of the time that we've been human, we developed those strategies in terms of that social intelligence to counter things like boasting, self-glorification, all that selfish behaviour. And I think why that's important is that, we look at society and ourselves now in terms of a sense of community. And I think 90% of the time we've been social beings, and I think it's not to forget that for 90% of the time that we've been on this earth and our ancestors in that evolvement, we've worked together and we've worked collaboratively. And I think for me that means what is human nature is malleable and adaptable. So I think hopefully the talk that Matty's given, and I'm sure that Timo and Tony will talk about, is that why loneliness is such it's toxic to us, that we are social beings. And for me, the research that's come out is that how we live together, that developing that social intelligence and understanding how we work together, I actually think is really important. The couple of books that I've read recently, Chris Stringer, who's an anthropologist and works for the Natural History Museum, has written a couple of books. He collaborated with Louise Humphrey on Our Human Story, and had previously written The Origin of Our Species, which goes on from the early work from Charles Darwin. And another book is The Dawn of Everything, which is a new history of humanity by David Grabe and David Wengrove. Unfortunately, David Grabe had died not long after that came out in 2021. But they're books that talk about our origins. And I think, this podcast is really recognising us as human beings, but as social beings. And the sense and need for community is absolutely integral to who we are.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Ian. Excuse me. I'm just going to kind of pick up a little bit on what Ian was saying, but from a historical perspective, but fast forwarding a few million years, so looking more at recent history, I suppose, over the last over my lifetime, really. So I'm 42 years old, and when I was a young man, I would go to the Working Men's Club with my gran and granddad on a Friday evening, and the sense of community there was, for all to see. There was togetherness where everybody from that locality would come together and enjoy themselves and have a chat and talk about this, that and the other. But it was more than just that from joining up on a Friday evening. It was also, you'd have, fishing clubs out of the Working Men's Club. You'd have a Crown Green Bowls Club, a snooker club, a pool club, all these opportunities for people to, just to get together and have that sense of community and talk to each other. Unfortunately, over the last sort of 20, 30 years, more and more of these community hubs, as I like to call them, have closed down, and there's very few what you class as working men's clubs still surviving nowadays, which is why it's so important that things such as the First Person Project and things such as the Florrie, as Timo and Tony will talk about after, are here for people to get engaged with and for people to obviously feel that sense of community, because I think we definitely have lost that as a society. And people who are retiring now would have been of the age where they were able to go Working Men's Club when they're younger, and now they've got so much time on hands, they might not have the same sort of resources of the fishing club or the snooker club to go and meet the friends. So it's really important that we are developing new ways of getting that community sense. say from my own perspective, sort of, I see this as part of a community, the Man Hug as part of a community that I never thought I'd be involved in, you know, working alongside you three guys and the sound guy, Nat, it's given me something really special in my life, and I feel part of something that's really important, not only to the listeners, but to me personally. So I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be part of this. And other things like my band, so being a part of a band and going out and performing, you just feel part of the wider community, because you're hopefully getting people singing along with you and getting them, you know, engaging with you know, in a social activity like Ian was just saying. And then finally, my little girls' football team, so I get involved with coaching there, and that's a community in itself. So there's so many things that we need in our life, and from what Ian was just saying, we are social beings. We need that and these sorts of things. And finally, I just want to talk about the online community. So we've kind of said in a few of the podcasts that social media can be a little bit toxic at times. But again, from doing the podcast, I've begun to become part of a community of sort of what's available out there on Twitter and Instagram and such like from a mental health perspective, and I find it a really positive community. Such as last night, I mean, Conleth mentioned about the Norwich City video that they released for World Mental Health Day. I mean, that is unbelievable, and you know, please do watch it if you've not seen it already. But through, you know, the posts from sort of the Samaritans, that they're posting messages of support, and we can repost those on X or Twitter, as I like to still call it, and also there's a website called the suicidealliance.com, and they keep coming up, and they offer free training for you to sort of be more aware of helping people who may be having suicidal tendencies and things like that. So all these things that are a positive part of a particular community on social media can be utilised, and so it's not always necessarily a negative thing, and I think, you know, an online community in that sense can be really positive as well. So that's me. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you very much. All really valuable points and really interesting areas as well, gents. So thank you very much. We're going to take a very short break, and then we've got Timo and Tony from the Florrie.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Okay, it's that part of the podcast where we feature a local service and we promote and give you all of the information, and we're really made up to be joined by Timo Tearney and Tony Caveney, who are both running amazing projects at the Florrie. Tony's running the men's wellbeing walking group, I've been following you on Twitter, absolutely made up with what you do and following it. Just tell us a little bit about where it came about, you know, how it started.
It started 2022, last year, last February, but it was a bit before that, just walking myself, getting back to health from COVID, and like I say, a friend who'd been through his own little issue, so I was getting him out walking, and you were allowed your like hours fitness, you remember all that carry on, so we were getting out walking, blah blah, and then we seen more and more fellas on the walk who were getting out themselves from around the city, getting down the prom, getting down the park, so we like meeting up sort of thing, you know, like, and then going back to your own area. So I thought, you know, there's something in this here. Like, so locally, I went and seen Timo, who we know from the Florrie, but from Dingle anyway. The Florrie do great things. So I went and seen, could I do it from there, you know, like, to have a base to go from, which gives it a bit of, like, severity, you know what I mean, seniority, like, I'm run from the Florrie instead of just me to you lads. And then it started from there, and, like, more and more come, we put the word out. And then fellas were getting, like direct messages, because it wasn't really set up as the Walk Florrie, like, you know, social media is a bit evil. It wasn't set up because we didn't go that way. So people would just direct message me myself, and then we set it all up through social media, and it was just build the ark and they will come type things, you know what I mean? And there was more and more people, so you know, it's grew and we did a little thing with Andy Robertson, but we were only like 9 weeks old. It was a bit, we were like, what's going on? So we got invited by Rotary Liverpool, invited us Nivea for men it was. And then it just went ballistic then a little bit, more and more people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I say, it just grew and become like a bit of a brotherhood sort of thing.
So yeah, that backup was Andy Robertson, was it, from Liverpool, and he did that as well.
Plus the fella's been through his own thing and he spoke about that as well. He's genuine, you know what I mean? You could see it, like what he was saying. He's had his own thing when he got dropped as a kid and you could see it in his peer. You know, all this, you know, his peer and like his world must have ended. But like, he took it to the next level for us and we're forever grateful for what he done.
Amazing. And how often do you meet now and when is it?
Well, we meet every Monday. We leave at 10:30. We get there about 10 to 10, quarter to 10. We have a little talk, like yourselves around the table, like that. We get our coffee, get our cereal bars, whatever. In the summer, it's more fruit. And we're ready, we get off. We're limited because we're based around the Florrie. We're not limited, but we have the beauty of the parks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have all the parks and the prom and the pier. But you get fellas coming from like Warrington, fellas coming from Runcorn and up the North End and come to meet. So we try and get out there. What we do, like I say, every Monday and Friday at 10:30 we leave. And we walk daily ourselves, you know what I mean? You always get your walk around the park and the weekends people will go. So you keep in touch and like, we're all in a WhatsApp group, which I spoke about. Can be vicious social media, but this is a good go-to point for lads. And any time of the day, there's no like Mexican beheadings or, you know what I mean, or sex videos. It's strictly for like lads to just open up and, you know, it's a good thing. I didn't think WhatsApp and like social media could be like that. And like, you can open up any time of the day and there's something there, you know, to get it off the chest. And even if they're not face to face, you can see the growth in the lads talking, do you know what I mean? You can't see it like.
One of the things that I was really blown away because, like, you know, my mental health background, I started off with children and young people and adolescents, and a lot of the services across Merseyside tend to attract the younger people. All of your photos of all of your days out seem to have, should we say, more mature men.
Ex-corpy.
Ex-corpy, mature adults, experienced, whatever it is. But how does that sort of, you know, how's that come
well,
about?
When we started it, it's funny you should say that. I was on about this the other day. When we started it, obviously I put like message out to friends who I knew I'd gone walking with. Come on, we want to start this. Can you hold? So like, it was a younger thing. And like some of them still do come. When I say younger, I mean like 30s, 40s, you know what I mean? I'm 53. So it was like younger lads. But then the progression it's been, they still come. But it was a case of like work, you know, like shift work, and they couldn't get, I love what's going on, but I can't get to it. So, you know, keep your own walks up overnight. And then gradually, like, older fellas come, because we got a fella from Warrington, Ernie. He's a lovely fella, and his daughter lived in Egbert, he moved. And he's seen the group, and I think his missus had passed away, and so he was a bit lonely. So he was coming from what, you know, like, and then he like lit the, you know, when you get someone else in a group that can talk, and then so we have like unwritten rules, if you know what I mean. Like, if you look behind, we're walking, some walk fast enough. If you turn around, there's a gap stop because we're in it for a group. It's not a race, you know what I mean. We walk together. So you know, wait for the next fella. Try and mix it up, not so clicky. Don't keep the young kids. And that's what I love about the beauty of it. You get like older fellas who are like, we're all the same. You'd think like if you didn't know them, like, oh, I can't have a laugh with him with my type of comedy. But they're all the same when you get to know. Like I say, the words, like cheap words, brotherhood or companionship and all that. It does work, you know what I mean? And
it's funny because we like kind of meet in the cafe, have a cup of tea, and then, you know, I don't go on them all the time because I meet my date, so I try and, you know, but you see, when they leave, it's kind of like they buddy up almost, like when you see primary school kids and they're going over the down, they get in them high vises and they walk down the road and it's dead cute and that. But it's the same with like fellas who are like between the age of like 30, but 20 odd, and it's the youngest up to like 77, the oldest. And like as they're leaving, they slow down and get with like, oh, I'll get with him, or I haven't saw him for a couple of weeks, or, you know, as you arrive and everyone's shaking each other's hands, you know, you feel like Roy Keane walking around all the players or something. It's great some mornings if you're having a bit of a bad Monday or something, you know, walking in and someone will always give you a little laugh or a smile, or, you know, and it's very important, you know, and Tony speaks about that a lot of, you know, walking around the park, and it's very important just say hello to people, good morning, you know, it's something that we're kind of losing a little bit, and COVID did bring it back. I'm sick of saying sorry to people because it feels like we're always forever apologising, we're getting too close to each other, but that should be normalised a little bit, and saying good morning, saying hello, and saying these things. It can make someone's day a lot better.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the things, again, just focusing a bit more on your older adults in a sense. How have you found that they open up about their mental health? Because we've done other podcasts, haven't we, about maybe older generations still have a bit more stigma around mental health, still feel they've got to man up, still feel that they can't talk to people. How are you finding that, when, you know, in the walking group?
It's, like I said it myself, I think it was generational, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Your dad, your granddad, your dad, and it was, you know, it stops with my lad, you know, and all that, but sometimes it doesn't, you know, they carry issues that you don't know they're really carrying half the time because they've never had that opportunity or the stage to say something.
Wow, yeah.
But I found, now what I love, I was going to harp on about, and what you're saying, it meets into what you just mentioned there. The older fellas, we don't say come. Our first object is to get out walking. You don't have to say nothing on the walk, obviously. You know, the first thing is come and have a talk, have a coffee, feel comfortable, then go on the walk. And obviously you'll gravitate to whoever's like similar conversation. But some of the older fellas have took the time. They seem to be the ones. If you get them like walking, you start opening up more. I think older, which has surprised me. Do you know what I mean? Than the younger ones, because you know they've made that first step of attending.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing for them to get. I was going to come because a lot of it is, I've been looking at you for months. And I know they've loads of direct, not played the piano, loads of direct messaged me. And like, I'm going to come for, all right, I'll see you there, don't worry, you know, I'll be there because we're working for you. I'll be there at 9:30. And they don't turn up, so we don't go back and go, where was it? You know what I mean? You come when you want to come. Yeah. But the older fellas have been like unbelievable. Yeah. To a point of now, they're that far down the road in such a short space of time. If newcomers, we love a newcomer. That's what we say. Like, we love a newcomer. Like, we do spoil them a bit, you know what I mean? You get involved with them.
The bell beaters.
Yeah,
get a bell beater.
That is a special biscuit, the old bell beater.
Get a Fox Classic then. But, instead of a rich tea. But, a bourbon, you see them going through the group now in such a short space of time, how far they progressed. Getting the new fellas and talking in a way that, like, probably because of the seniority, younger lads wouldn't get involved like that. You know, we're all free talk, but you see that with the fellas for an experienced thing in such a short space of time to, you know, to gravitate to that lad and go, you know, like, where did you work with? And it starts from that, and then why are you here? And you can hear them freely talking, like, even, you know, like, I don't think they would have done it normally if they'd have been with the mates without going on the walk. I'd like to think they would, I don't know. But, you know, so like, you wouldn't let people, if it was a personal clique, you just wouldn't have strangers anyway, would you? Do you know what I mean?
There's a breakdown of that bravado because they're not with the mates.
Yeah, in a way,
Open up
obviously.
With strangers, it's easier to talk.
Yeah, obviously, that's a big thing now. I think they do, like, and now it's self-reliant now, because like Tim says, he's got work, we work in the Florrie, so there's other things to do and address. So at least one of us will always go on it. And So now, if we don't go on it, they know what to do, and they take that walk and have a great walk, and you see, like, you know yourself, you get your endorphins flowing after a walk, everyone's hugging, everyone's seeing one and seeing, and you can see the change from when, you know, Monday morning, say they've had a skinful or something's happened at the match or whatever, and you see them turning up a bit, at the end of the, like 2 or 3 hours later when they come back, you can just see they're all hugging. I see it. Do you know what I mean? It's that type of thing, like, just to get fellas talking.
Yeah. Have you noticed as well, like, because you mentioned about a guy before who might have been lonely and, you know, hasn't got much of a social circle, is the group then creating other friendships where they're then going off and doing other things?
That's where the WhatsApp group comes into it, which is brilliant, you know what I mean? It's like, and because you do your own, we like to pump, do a walk. Everyone's got, like, it doesn't have to be around the park or somewhere like spectacular, you know, just get up, walk up down the street or something. Just, if something's annoying you, don't sit on it in the house, just get out with a walk, make your coffee, get a drink or something, and go on your own walk, and you'll find that it will relieve things that, all right, you know, the problems might still be there, obviously, but you're coming back in a frame of mind where you're not in that frame of mind that you was in, you're in a better frame of mind, and that's what the walk does. It sets you up for the day. You come back at 12, 1 o'clock, you can attack the rest of the day in a decent frame of mind and look at things better. It's never so severe, and it's not as classic. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, people have the problems, obviously, but if you can look at things in a clearer mind, you know, yourself, it's a lot better.
It's funny with a lot of things as well, because if there's an issue or a problem or something affecting your well-being or your own headspace, and you think it's only your problem, you're the only one facing this problem. When really, if you go wherever, it may be the Tesco or the pub or on the walk or wherever, and half the time, if you say to someone, oh, you know, I've got this bill there off the council, oh yeah, well, I've had that bill as well, suddenly you just
you know,
It's normalised.
it's
isn't it?
normalised,
Yeah.
the issue. Do you know what? I've got this cough I've been worried about for 3 months. Well, I've had this cough and I went to the doctors last week and I've been given these antibiotics and it sounds.
Yeah.
You know, all these little things which someone said to me was the best bit of advice that they give me. I was walking my dog, I've got a little Scottish Terrier, and I built this like group of like a dog pound basically or whatever of all different people in Princess Park who used to clean the park, do all the rest of it. And this fella said to me, I was worried about something, and he said to me, do you know what? It's just a story. You always create a story, and usually your story's the worst case scenario. And I remember thinking and thought, yeah, because you know, if the next part, if you've sorted the first part or something, the next part's always the most daunting. And if you're going, oh, well, if I do that, well, it'll be worst case scenario. But really, you're just creating, because we watch all these bloody Jurassic Parks and Hollywood movies, it's always going to be the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But if you face them head on and you deal with someone else, and your partner or your family member or your best mate, and if you haven't got none of them, someone like Tony at the Florrie, or picking up the phone to Samaritans, or doing whatever, someone's going to help you.
Yeah.
And making that step is very, very, very difficult. I run a guitar class and I say to them people who come, the hardest part is not playing guitar, it's being here.
Yeah.
Making that step across the front door is the hardest part of your journey. Now you're here, you sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
yeah.
we're also, sorry, what I find as well, which I love as well, is it's ours, it's from grassroots, and the fellas that they can like rise to that. Now a lot of them have been down to like professional psychiatrists or the professional counsellors, and they didn't get what they needed, so they've probably like, it doesn't work, have gone back, you know what I mean, and it's upset them. I think what they're seeing, that like, we're doing it ourselves, like your podcast, you're just doing it off your own bat, it's nothing to do with anyone, you're helping people for freely to help people. There's no, you know, backhanders in. There's nothing in it untoward. And I think that's what the lads on the walk like. Brilliant. That, like, you know, there's people like us, you can speak like this. You don't need to be... Like, I've been to council, I've been to bereavements, I've been to, like, anger man. I've been to them all, do you know what I mean? And, like, after Hillsborough, I've been to counsellors and things. And I took one was brilliant, one that I found in the end, but, like, I was going to them and I was thinking, I'm just going... Not to empty up. One of them, I was in bits and he just went, boom, I'll see you this. My 45 minutes was up. And I went, you horrible bat, you know what I mean, pardon me, friends. I said, I just paid another hour, do you know what I mean? How can you just be so cynical like that? And like, so I think a lot of like, it's dubious towards like professional, you know, where they're paying money, like they're not getting something back. This now, I think, like, because it's homegrown and it's organic, like they get something from it, I can see that,
as well, you know, if Bobby, who comes on the walk, goes in the pub and goes, oh, do you know what? I went the other day to see a counsellor and had a chat. Oh, what's up, Bobby? If Bobby says, I went down the Florrie, went on a walk with a load of fellas, he's right, but that's great.
Yeah.
It's not, the stigma's already knocked down. It's not like, no, so it's normalised. It's like there's a lot of good people who come on the walk and a lot of good people who use the services for that reason.
No, I don't mean to knock professionals, you know what I mean? Obviously, if you talk to anyone, whatever, I'm made up, go and talk to... I'm not knocking that out. I'm just like, you know, we'd love anyone to talk to anyone. I'm just saying, our group in itself, what I've seen...
This is a reoccurring theme, so
It really is.
every podcast is exactly the same.
Like Timo just said, it's saying,
every group, every group we
Because
get in, it's exactly the same, you know, where you're
it's knocking the barrier down, innit?
It's knocking a barrier, but you're opening your door to your community, which often NHS and other providers can't do because of massive wait lists or under-resourced or understaffed. So it ends up being grassroots people who are, you know, opening their door and having better success rates as well.
It reminds me of that line in Was It in Crocodile Dundee? Says, oh, we don't have a psychiatrist. We tell Bobby at the barn and he tells everybody else. Unlike, you know.
That's right.
10 points for getting a Crocodile Dundee. Amazing.
Big Dandy,
So, just in terms of, I'm going to come on to the guitar group because I'm a massive fan as well, but in terms of the walking group, you had Ricky Tomlinson last week, was it, joined the group?
Well, he's a patron, Tim will know more, he's been there long. He's a patron of the Florrie.
Yeah.
So, like,
he pops down,
he loves the
support
Florrie,
for
I
it.
think he does.
He done an exhibition called Ricasso a few years ago, raised about $7,000 or so. He done, I think it was 100 paintings. One of them was like one dot in the middle of the page and he called like dot on the back. He wrote them, gave everyone a certificate and then we done an auction night for it. Raised loads of money, he's a really good man. And when I said last week, because Tony was in Argentina, I just saw him popping in and went, hey, come and get a pitch with the lads. And they're all made up because he's there from the generation. They all look up to Rick, you know what I mean? you know, he done a lot for you know.
How many
social
times
media.
did he slip in my ass? Well,
So he never actually said it, you know. I said it probably more times than him, and everyone else probably said it as much as I did.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's amazing to have such, you know, supporters, isn't it? So, you know, Andy Robinson and people like that. Brilliant.
Yeah, there's just like signposting as well is a big thing. Do you know what I mean? So like when we started to where we are now, to forming links like this, I can consider use a link now to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've been speaking about yous anyway to like for a few of the lads and all that, and so they've been getting on yous. But like we're in house as in the Florrie offer, everything's like there's like 52 hours of free activities, so and they're all like good for your mental health and they're all good for your well-being. So like we have our own like meditation, you know, like breathing class when we finish to bring you back, because you're that hyped when you finish.
Yeah.
You know, it helped me with my asthma and others. So we had that going, and there was other spin-offs towards, and it wasn't just about, we have avenues of employment, we can get lads in work. So one of the lads, Stephen, come out of prison, he was just getting his life back together, we got him in work, got a job, he ended up getting a flat and all that, you know what I mean? So there's that down the path, like keep them on the pathway. There's all this like sign. Like I said about Jane Boland in James, like we went, she invited us along. It's unbelievable what they do.
It is.
It's unbelievable when we see her face up, and she showed us, and she went, well, we need you to work with us. And it was like, I was gobsmacked, you know what I mean? She said, like, you know, there's lads that we want to keep on that path of like knowing lads. And, like,
well, we had Matty Caine on before, and he said that, you know, one of the key things for grassroots provisional mental health in the city is collaboration. You know, it is. If you don't work together, you're just building barriers again, aren't you? So, you know, Jane's right, and you've got the right ethos where you just want to collaborate and link and signpost with everyone, because it can save lives at the end of the day.
We need everyone just like GoPro Bri. He's doing boss things, Brian. Do you know what I mean? We want to jump on with it, but I haven't had the time to speak to Brian. Like, no Brian anyway, but it's unbelievable what he does. You know what I mean? I'm gobsmacked by what he does, and like oh yeah, you might like it. It's just a build and a building, and it's like, oh yeah, and you find whether we went over the water, didn't we, to do a little talk, and you know, it just leads to things, and it's all growing, and it's all like which we love, and it's all through our own networking. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you haven't got to wait for the doctor's waiting room to get it. You know,
exactly.
It's just all like ourselves. It's a knock-on effect, really, and you find that like we're the majority, we're not the minority. Do you know what I mean? People want to, lads especially, they want to get better and out and like get out, and like we get fellas who just like to come and just have a laugh. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not as
better than any medication, isn't it?
I'd laugh at a big time. It's therapy. I'm convinced of it.
Definitely.
It's
and you've got a 24-hour walk coming up tomorrow, is it? Yeah. Tell us about that.
4 hours each.
4 hours each. Yeah.
I went to
the cat out the bag there.
I went to Manchester one year. I said I'm going to walk from Manchester to raise some money, and straight away I was like, do you know what? If I go on my own, if I get a warrant, and I'll be happy with myself. I'm already putting them. Yeah. And then some lad who knew messed me, he said, I'm meeting in Oxford Road at 9 o'clock. I went, all right, sound. Fuming. Met him. He's about 6'6". Yeah. I'm like 5'8". I turn up with a BLT, turn up with a bowl of porridge, oats. And it took us 11 hours, 59 minutes. I've never felt pain like it in my legs. So when someone said 24 hours, I went, I'm not... Can't be on that. 24 not doing that, so...
Because a lot of them are elderly as well. Not elderly, I feel like I say. Some of them are a bit like long in the tooth. Right, so we've chopped it up into groups. So what we do, our walks are mainly 5 miles in like 2 hours, 2 and a bit hours around the city, come back. So we thought, to make it a challenge, we'll double it 10 miles in a certain lot of time. So we split it up into groups. So you go on your walk. First one's 10 o'clock, like I say, 4 hours till 2, 10 in the morning. Come back, clock on, the next group go. So everyone's doing 10 miles. So there's 10 in the group, like the first group. There's 100 miles, really, if you look at it. Per man, everyone's done 10 miles. Then it carries on and it carries on. So we're going through the night. We've got head torches. We've got like first aid on. The Florrie's going to stay open to help us. We've got like contact numbers if anything happens. So it's well run, like. But
they'll all be in Pop Wheels. They'll all be in Pop Wheels at 5 in the morning. with a stand-up piece of on a big cardboard cutout of Jordan and piece of on
I walked 96 miles from Hillsborough to Anfield. It's 96 miles, can you believe that? Yeah, so we walked in to me mate Jockey and Chris Tully as part of Hillsborough Justice campaign. Like an awareness thing itself. So like, it was done in stages. We took in 8 football grounds. So the first one to Huddersfield was like 22 miles, and then you went to Oldham, and then you went to City, and then you went to Wigan, and then you made your way home. Then you went to Goodison, and then and it come to 96 miles, which was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it was like on a base it on that. Like, let's just walk for blah blah. Do you know what I mean? We'll just keep walking. But then I was like, some of the other ones, walking 100 miles through the night. And I said, no, we'll have to chop it up, obviously.
It's an amazing challenge. So how, if people are listening, how can they donate and support?
Well, we've got the GoFundMe page, which is www.florrie.org. We've got it on that. We've got it on our socials. You can go on it. You'll see the link there. Yeah. It did well last night after, like you say. So thanks for having us on. After the radio podcast last night, it seems up. But like I say, we want awareness to coincide with what's going on. But there is like a side of it. Like we have our own in-house counsellor.
Yeah.
He's a mental health counsellor. One of our, like, he's my mate actually. He lost his brother. So we went and done a course, 5-year course, mental health course. So he helps us, but it's still his job, you know what I mean? But he does amazing things. So if anyone needs to talk, there's a room, there's the front, you go and see, you know what I mean? Amazing. So he's helping that way as well. So the lads are freely going in to see him now, where it was, they wouldn't go and talk to people.
That's amazing.
Getting things off. That's their own thing. That's nothing to do with any of us. You know, we don't know what's getting said, obviously.
But because of their route into it, they're more likely to engage because they feel more relaxed within the environment, don't they?
Probably the family.
Well, like I say, there's like not a monetary thing. We're not putting a monetary thing on that we do, but the more you grow, you want to take the lads out on days. Everything's done through the Florrie. We get out. We had got a bit of funding, I think, off the fire service, didn't we? They jumped on. So they wanted to set their own mental health up for their fire workers, you know, the firefighters. And I went to see Phil Garrigan through my cousin Damien. Phil Garrigan's head of fire at Merseyfire. And he said, Philip, you know, he helped us out. So we were leaving from, there's 25 fire stations in Liverpool, Merseyside, we were leaving it. Doing a walk from everyone, Heswall and Sugo, Massey, Fawn. We were going everywhere doing our walks from there with a few of the firefighters. Amazing. And he gave us a bit of money, but the money's like, the lads need a coat in the winter, if your lad needs you know what I mean? Some of them don't have walking. You're looking at the fellas who are elderly and he's walking in as like Clarks. We're going to get, you know, so you do need a monetary side of it to keep like things, but it's not, it goes in the right things, you know. Even, like we had the thing with Tesco, which like, we do our own, but you find that some like B&M Tesco's and that offer free charity, you know, we need biscuits and water for them, you know, things like that.
Yeah, so definitely.
We'd like to raise a bit of money while we're doing it if we can. And we'll be out with the like hair collection buckets as well while we're walking.
Well, we'll plug all your socials and get people to back you.
It's mainly at Walk Florrie. It's mainly at Walk Florrie on all of them.
Brilliant, thanks. And Timo, your guitar group, unreal, mate. I've been following it for ages on social media.
7 years now or something.
7 years, and it's just grown and grown and grown.
I had 67 last night in.
Wow, 67. That is incredible. It's not quite as big as the St George's Hall crowd, was it? You know, what was that, 500?
Oh, 600.
600? Oh my God. Yes, tell us a little bit about
Bob
that.
Bob Sager or someone done 1,000 now in Poland, so I'm coming for him, mate.
Sager.
Bob Sager, how many number ones has he had? I haven't had any, but, you know.
Did he invent the games console? Did he?
Seeger. What was it called? Alec the Kid. I went, you know, similar to Tony, I went to Florrie to support Mick Head in 2015. I play in a band called the T Street Band. I never used to play solo gigs, and he asked me to do this gig. And I said to me, Dad, where's the Florrie? He went, the Florrie, Dingle. And I went, oh yeah, I remember walking past there. My mate PJ, who does Roy, the stand-up poets, and his mum used to live down Dingle. That was the only time I walked past the Florrie with PJ. And I went there 2015, met Anne, who's the chief executive, met Bev. They were looking on shutting the doors 2016 because they had no money. And I said, I've always wanted to do this kind of work. And she went, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do a guitar group. She went, well, come and do it. Half on the back foot, sound, I'll come and do it, And in January, I went to see her and she went, come and have a go of it, you know. And I'd realised with the Florrie, what happened is they used to put like Zumba on, they'd leave it 3 weeks, no one would come, they'd just cancel. They'd put something on, 3 weeks, cancel, put something on, 4 weeks, cancel. You need persistence, consistency. Same as the walk, same as the guitar group, same as what you used to do. If people know that you're there, people know the date and time, if you're there, you don't let them down. They will come, you build it and they will. Wayne's World 2, book them and they will come. And I started and then I got some funding to start a full-time job. So I had my dream job of volunteering. But I realised that there's so much and like expertise and people willing to volunteer who are skilled people. Volunteering a while ago had this stigma that you go and volunteer in your local community building, you probably mop a floor, you clean a load of cups. I wanted to stop that because I thought, well, the volunteer doesn't get nothing from it. You lose them after 2 weeks. They don't come again and clean 100 cups. So I started getting volunteers to do like marketing classes, yoga groups. Oh yeah, you're skilled, you're out of work. Do you want to come and give us an hour? Come and do this Zumba class. Yeah, brilliant. That way we could offer free activity. I could support the person volunteering into full-time employment, or if they want to do some training or get a DBS or whatever, I'll pay for that, and that's the way we'll get it. The same girl still volunteers now, 7 years on, doing the yoga every Tuesday, 10 o'clock. So when we started to volunteer, you know, he's got a full-time job in the Florrie. The growth. And with the guitar group, it was always that thing of, you know, I went to Ross Common Street School, I was 15, and it used to be these fellas sat around the table, and this lad, Caven, used to turn up and used to show me pictures of a guitar he let Noel Gallagher in my head just be blown because I was into Oasis. Oh, this Kevin's boss. And this lad used to turn up used to come from Old Swan. He used to come with his guitar, and Kevin would go, right, we're playing Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles, and everyone would go, all right. And then this fella we'd go 1, 2, 3, and as soon as he'd start playing, he'd put his guitar down and start dancing in the middle of the room. Oh. And I'd be like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about guitar, it's about this fella. I was 15 then, you know, went away, got in a band, lived the dream for a few years. But I realised that there's so many people out there who play instruments and never play with another person. And when you actually sit down and play guitar with another person, it's amazing. Same as talking, same as having a cup of tea with someone else's boss, but playing an instrument with another musician is fantastic. So I thought, well, let's see how many we can get together. Done one person, 2 people, 1 person, 3 people. And then, you know, it just started to grow.
It's grown and grown. You've had loads of supporters as well over the years, haven't you? Because you also bring people in to do a little bit of a performance for your group as well. So who you had in?
Last night we had Michael Robert Murphy, had the Wicked Whispers. The week before we had The Sway, Jamie Webster, Ian Prowse, Nasha, Ara Frankie, the Bluebell Centre video, Circle Waves, what they call Latham's,
James Kelly.
James Kelly's been in. You know what? One thing I realised is I must actually be an alright person, because all these people who I met along the way in the band, actually, I can call on a favour and he's still, you know, I can call in favours on people, because that's what it is, you know, people see the good work that we're doing, and if you ask, and, you know, you've always been alright, then
where did the idea come for the big St George's Hall get-together?
I'd done, before lockdown, I'd planned to get 100 people in the hall upstairs, and I put the 100 on, and Bonehead started tweeting about it from Oasis, who's the reason why I got into playing guitar, Bonehead, by the way. And then we got like 199 people in the hall. I was like, it seems like to be more people than that we want to do it. And then I got hold of Coach of Liverpool and just said, we support us in doing something big in George's Hall, because I thought it's hard for people to get not so much hard for the Florrie, but people are more vocal to come to town. The train stops there, there's car parks, they can get a bus there. So I knew it was a heartbeat way to get people playing St George's Hall. And then we got 600, no problem with 100 people watching. Wow. And then, you know, who knows?
Yeah, amazing.
Unbelievable that, actually.
You're aiming for Anfield next? Or,
I wanted to open the Roof Stand, to be honest with you, but I thought the same as doing the cathedrals. I think, you know, Liverpool is, you know, we're football mad and we used to be religion mad. I think that's dying a little bit now, and I wouldn't want to put people in a situation who are Evertonians to come and sit in Anfield, and I don't want to put a situation where people who are religious to come and sit in a place that they don't
just
believe
use Prenton Park then.
Yeah, so I just see, like, you know, Sevy, you know, Webster's playing in Sefton in the summer.
Yeah.
I've already thought that, but it's one of them, innit? Doing George's Hall again, but.
And I suppose in terms of like a mental health perspective, what have you found that people take away from the music group? What do you see, you know, when they leave?
It's I'll be honest with you, I tell them this every week. I say, you know, some weeks I've got a lad who's 2.5, you know, I go to work and some nights I'm tired. Yesterday I was in work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 5:30 I'm going back to work, and I couldn't really be bothered. I was like, oh, do you know what, I could do without this tonight. And then you get your guitar on, and every week I always have 15 minutes to just walk around and just get myself prepared, and I don't think about what I'm doing, just do the class as it comes. Tony rubs me muscles. And then, but then once you walk in, you see all them people there, and you go, and it goes silent. Yeah. And they're all like, we're here to play. And then I go in the middle, right, have 5 minutes, speak to each other, you know, have a little chat. And then you come back in and, like Tony said, people have gravitated towards each other and they go, no, let's see your guitar. Oh, can you play a B minor? Yeah, oh no, I forgot a C sharp man in the bag. And they're talking all this like guitar, not like madness. Yeah. And then they leave and you're like, that lads, it's like, ladies, 7:30, you're still here, I want to go home. But you can't because that's very important. And I realise how important it is to people.
Yeah. There's no better noise than when they're playing and walking down the halls of the Florrie and walking up there and you hear all these playing, it's therapy. Same as the ukulele class. When you hear them all playing.
It's such a beautiful building
as
well.
It's unbelievable. They're records, it's like the Philharmonic in a way. It's like, just feel good factor off it, you know what I mean?
You know, as well, it's that thing of, you know, I go to work full time. There's a lady who does the ukulele group, Helen. She gets at least 30 people now coming on a Friday morning. She volunteers at time. She comes in every single Friday morning. You know, she won't mind me saying, but she having, like, her mum's not too good and she's got stuff outside of coming in and volunteering. And she's there every single week and she goes, I absolutely love it, you know, Tim, I love volunteering. And as well, when you were saying before about the like, kind of, the ages of people who get help and support, we have an autism support group who meet up for adults once a month. I didn't realise that, you know, autism and Asperger's and it's got a name now on it for the collection of...
ASD.
And, you know, once you're 16, you leave school or you leave your college or you leave whatever, you can't go down to your parents and one of these people who are now adults sat in the bedroom or sat in the house or sat with no one to talk to. And this support group, we're getting 25, 30 people come along to it. Some people join in on the class on Zoom. Some people like phone up and join on the phone. And it's run by volunteers. They're called Merseyside Autistic Adults. They're based over on the Wirral and they come over once a month and meet up. And, you know, you're seeing that. We have a dyslexia support group. So these little things of well-being, mental health, but as well the educational support groups, that's what, you know, I think the Florrie and community buildings and assets is what they are to communities should be providing.
Mate, it's so true. I ran a music group for years, mostly for young males who had psychosis. And it's not just the things that you see in the session, it's the things that they're going home to. I'd have stories of lads who would only leave the house once a week to come to the group, but then they were going home and they were writing songs, so they were getting it all out, they were expressing it because we'd taught me. Or they would then make mates with someone that was there and play together.
Have a jam.
Or, you know, the big thing for me was actually how much it builds people's confidence. I remember one lad who couldn't get out the house for 3 years, and we got him to end up playing an open mic night, and his whole family were in tears. This lad couldn't leave the house, but it was the music, it was the guitars that gave him the confidence to get out again. It's so powerful.
When we done George's All, I asked Matty Loughlin, the shipbuilders, young Callum Ellis, or Ellis Murphy, not Callum, I don't know who Callum Ellis is, Ellis Murphy, and Shona Carmen. And I knew Shona, she's a vocalist from the city. And I phoned and said, Shona, you up for doing this group? Yeah, son, dead confidence on the phone. Turns up to the rehearsal before, and I'm like, she had her headphones on, she was sitting. I went, you alright? She went, this is the first time I've sung in public since before lockdown. Wow. And I was like, I didn't know. And then by the end of, I could see she was nervous before George Hall. And then when she came off the stage, and she was like, I feel amazing. You know. And that's just not it. It's you know, so many people, even, you know, again, Bonehead. It's like, he's been through throat cancer, I think it was, or something. Right. Suffered his mental health a lot.
Well, we had Mel Bowen on one of the first podcasts who came to the St George Hall with Nasher, and we've got Nasher on in December as well, haven't we? So,
Well, Nasher done the 96 walk with us.
Did
he? Nasher. I was walking with the phrase, didn't even know who he was. I knew, but I didn't know his background. And it was like, Scout A-list, you know what I mean? But he wouldn't have it, like, shut up, you dickhead. You know what I mean? What a man.
Legend. So one of the things I said to you before, you've got a lovely phrase about the Florrie. For those that don't know about the Florrie, sum it up for us.
Inclusive, not exclusive. And you said before, I always forget it, but there's you and I in community.
It totally sums it up, doesn't it? And it is one of those places, I think, if anyone goes for the first time, you always want to go back, don't you? It's such a beautiful building, but the atmosphere in there is incredible as well, isn't it?
It's people who make the building, though. It's like, you know, I'd like to think that the people who work there now, including myself, are making a difference in a lot of people's lives. but they're making a lot of difference in my life and you know, the Florrie's life. The Florrie's, we're just a moment in time, and the building's been there for 130 years. I opened 130 years there, where there's like
pictures of you on
pictures
the wall.
of me on the wall.
Statues.
Basically, you want to make a leather picture of me in the wall.
Build the statues.
But my hair will be black on it though. I'll have a boss bowler that'll be black.
Well, I've lived Dingle all my life, 53 years. The Florrie was my youth club, the Florrie was my YTS, the Florrie was my community industry. When it burnt down, people were in love with the Florrie then. It's always been a special building in the area. And when it burnt down, I went to Rack and Ruin to like a funding or whatever, and it just... It opened up again, and it didn't have the same feel, I think, in the area. But I know that because of like people what they say in the area, and then like now the way Anne and Timo, what they've done, Beverly and Lawrence and everyone who works in there, and everyone, Lee, don't even mention Lee. It's people are back in love with the building. The area love the Florrie is part. It's a building, but it's family to them. Do you know what I mean? And people love the Florrie. Whether it, you get fellas coming in like they've got an archive now on the internet. It's all logged. All pictures going back hundreds of years, and it's the granddads and the great granddads. There, the fella in Alan Barker, he's moved out the way now. He comes on the walks, Alan. He's moved out to Formby, and he found out. So he comes on the walks, and he was telling me just to listen to the man. So I took him in and showed him the heritage, you know, like in the heritage room, all the like the vintage gear, the archives, and he was naming his life. It was unbelievable. I was memory, and he was going, "Can you take a picture of that?" So I was getting the screen. He said, "That's me mate's granddad. He's passed away. Wait till I show him." And do you know things like that? So we're like trying to get him involved and things. It's just ongoing. Do you know what I mean? Because what's going on at the minute with the Florrie and where it's at.
So just a big plug on it then. So if anyone's listening and they want to get involved in any of the groups, attend any of them, how would they find out about them?
www.theflorrie.org, and then you'll find out what the walk on there, the walk Florrie, you find out all the activities, the advice service that we have for people who need some benefits advice or housing advice or the food union that we have, which is a community shop open on a Friday, or if you want to book the building for a wedding, you know, that's all on there as well. But just on a final note to finish off here, the worst thing we ever done was call Lee Swan King of the Dingle, because all he does now is sit on his backside and tells us all to pee off.
For those that don't know Lee, check out the video where he went and met the Liverpool football team. He's an absolute legend at the Florrie anyway. So, lads, it's been a pleasure, honestly, and the work you're doing is absolutely incredible. Long live the Florrie, absolutely love it, massive fan of it, and everything you do as well. So, thanks so much for coming on, guys.
Thanks very much. Keep up the good work.
If you or anybody else you know is struggling with their mental health, visit hubofhope.co.uk or download the app today and find local and national mental health support.
Please make sure that you follow us on Twitter. It's @TheManHug. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next month.